Want to go over AT&T for $3,644.08. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield was the health insurance premium for $15,545.38. CTI Engineering for the 12th Street paving project was $12,466.03. Buckeye Pumps Incorporated for the repair pumps for the flood damage out at the wastewater treatment plant was $3,076. U.S. Bank for the downtown revitalization loan interest was $44,539.45. McGarvey Refrigeration and Heating for the repair of the HVAC at the wastewater treatment plant was $5,401.97. And the Struble Water Hauling Incorporated for the delivery of the salt to the service department was $13,185.90. And the Synagro Central LLC for the hauling of the sludge was $8,640.65.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to pay the bills this evening. Clerk, please call the roll.
Grill.
Aye.
Householder. Aye. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Harp.
Aye. Bills shall be paid when funds become available. Thank you. Next would be legislative. Councilperson Weingart.
No meeting.
No meeting. Thank you. Capital improvements. Councilperson Wright.
No meeting, sir.
Annexation and business and land development. Councilperson Householder.
No meeting.
Service maintenance and stormwater. Councilperson Igro.
Yes, Mayor, we had a meeting last Monday, the 20th of October, 6 o'clock. Myself, Councilman Harp, Councilman Flowers, Councilperson Weingart, Mayor Pinkerton, Manager Rick Garreau, and the Deputy Service Director Bill Sainer were in attendance. The topic was the water rules and regulations. We went over the final draft, made a few changes to what was proposed from Jen Riger and the village manager, plus any typos that were in there. First reading of the water rules and regulations will be tonight, first reading only. Once council considers after 3 readings, they will take effect January 1st, 2015. We also had a question about surcharges charged by the village to outside consumers. Councilperson Weingart will check with the solicitor and get a ruling, and it will be brought back to the committee for any further discussion before it's brought to council. Committee adjourned at 6:40 p.m.
Thank you, Councilman Igro. Thank you. Safety, Councilman Flowers.
No meeting, Mr. Harper.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Councilman Wright.
No meeting, sir, but our next scheduled meeting is Thursday, November the 13th at 7 o'clock at the Community Center.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning, Councilperson Householder.
No meeting.
Thank you. Civil Service, Councilperson.
Meeting.
Meeting. Good.
The Civil Service Commission met Thursday, October 16th at 5 p.m. at the high school library to make final preparations for administering the dispatch position test. The purpose is to establish an eligibility list. All commission members were there: Todd Sage, Joanne Jones, Bob Slazer, Jennifer Rieger, and myself. Again, this commission was totally organized. All tests and materials were packaged together. The audio portion had been checked and was in perfect working order. The testing began at 6 p.m. There were 9 candidates participating. The testing ended at 8:30 p.m. The scores were posted at the Village Hall on the bulletin board and at the police station on Monday, October 20th. I have 2 other things I would like to tell you about. Now, I gave you copies, so I'll just briefly mention.
Go ahead. That's fine.
The shredding
Yes.
was excellent, excellent. When I got here, about 20 till 9, Mabel had everything up here. All the guys had all the stuff from the basement pulled up. The truck was here running, they were chewing it up, and then people started coming at 9, and we had 56 cars, and I estimated the cost, and totally would have been around $1,125. We got rid of everything in our basement here. We had 56 people come through with their stuff. We gave all the empty boxes to Smith Township for recycling. It was just a really good day. And there were lots of comments about they want to do it again. They appreciated it. And I was also asked if we're going to have a spring cleanup, and that's something we need to think about for next year. And also, downtown is having open house on November 7th and 8th. And I gave you all a list of the stores that are participating and their hours. And I gave it to Gail. Okay? So, to kick off our holiday season.
Very good.
And that's all I have.
Person, right?
Yeah, Mr. Harp, I did have one other thing. In the bills tonight was the plaques for the trees at the park. For those of you that were interested in those, the plaques are here. They look very nice. They just have to fix them to the ground somehow. So I think possibly once Bill gets back from vacation, we're going to talk about maybe postal drilling and then concreting them down into the ground. But they did a really good job, and they turned out super nice. I believe Marvin has those at this point, if they haven't been moved up to the community center. For those that might want to see them, contact probably Tracy up there, and she could set something up with you.
Okay. That's noted. One question for the clerk.
It's getting pretty late, and tarps better come down, or they'll come down involuntarily.
Yeah, that's
heavy rain, when the snow gets on, they'll come down. They need to get this down before it runs.
I'll get on him this week, and we'll make sure that happens this week. Thanks for the heads up, though.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the reports, council people. I will move on to manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, had a teleconference with Sherry Luce at RCAP to move forward on our source water protection plan, the GIS system mapping, inspection and maintenance plan, and the water utility assessment management plan. As I mentioned in my memo earlier, I think it's the best way to proceed using RCAP. It's certainly going to be cheaper than using other consultants because it's partially subsidized by the state and certainly more cost effective than using an engineering firm. The proposal meets all requirements for the Tier 1 grant for the cryptosporidium project, and there's legislation before council tonight regarding that approval. I also met with Superintendent Bates, George Sendry of MBA. The consensus was to move forward immediately with the engineering contract. I know that council gave me the authority to move into that contract earlier. However, reading it thoroughly, I was concerned that there wasn't adequate provisions in the contract. It was an escape clause in the event that the funding from the state fell through for whatever reason. I didn't want to have us obligated to that contract without state funding. So I did sign it, but we amended it with the one clause allowing us to say that the contract is only valid subject to that funding. So we're good to go. That modification solved the problem. The other issue was that when I was talking to Bates and Sendry, was included an assessment on the carbon system effectiveness. Based on the statistics and the testing, I gave each council a graph indicating the steep decline in the contaminants. Obviously, the public is no longer getting the trihalomethanes and the haloacetic acid notices. That has been taken care of. But the nice thing about the tracking is it allows us to determine exactly how much carbon we're going to be using over a period of time. It is rather expensive. We're estimating the replacement cost on an annual basis by doing 2 tanks of the 4 each fiscal year at about $60,000. That was based on the $1.50 per pound estimate rather than the dollar estimate, because if it comes in cheaper, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised and adequately prepared. So, but the nice thing about it is over the 2-year process, we will be able to adjust the system so that we are meeting our EPA requirements, but also we're maximizing the use of the carbon at the same time, which should stretch our dollar. So I did want to let you know that we'll keep track of that and what those costs actually come in at as soon as we have better numbers. Last council session was asked whether the white mechanical maintenance contract was $650 per year versus $550 per year. It was indeed $650 per year, so I was in error. Of course, the contract does say the first year is for free. As council may have noticed, the 3 blocks of Maryland Avenue have been recently planed and paved. The cost of that project was $45,000, and the service department is in the process of completing any remaining burn work. So that'll be the only paving project this fall. However, as council knows, there's a considerable amount of paving to be done next year, and both in spring and fall. My thanks to Councilman Ken Flowers and Councilman Dave Wright. Recently took and completed the 2 OEPA training sessions and received their certifications. That, of course, is a preliminary requirement for crypto-spurium funding. Those documents and certificates were forwarded to RCAP to add to our paperwork. I just need one more council member to help me with the funding requirement. I believe that's what we're working on that. So
Yes, I have one more to take, and I'll be done.
As council knows, earlier this month I took training in Athens required by the state auditor. I was very impressed by the training and the scope of the seminar, which regarded payroll, auditing, tax, legal, and billing issues. It seemed to be, even though it was a great help to me in the requirement, it had a lot of information that was directly related to the duties that Judy York and Mabel Unkerfer do in their work every day. I had Judy and Mabel take that course in Hudson, and I certainly think that we will reap some benefits from that because it will help us with our reporting accuracy and due to many auditing changes that the state has been making. The training included OPERS updates, IRS, taxable fringe benefits, legal updates from the Attorney General's office, state auditor updates, and small governments finance officer association programs, which is basically accounting process. We received from the county auditor $1,679.89 in water and sewer assessments, so we are getting some assessments back. I don't have anything regarding the code enforcement assessments, but if we do get a number, I will certainly share that with council. I attended a District 6 meeting in Youngstown for the review of our 2015 Indiana paving grant. I made a very brief presentation. The committee awarded an additional 8 points over the 53 that we originally got for a total of 61. The highest scoring project that District 6 reviewed was 69 points. That means Sebring came in, the project was ranked 11th out of 55 projects on the final review. Total cost of the project, of course, for that paving is $115,710. $62,483 of it would be grant funds. $53,227 would be a local match. This would plane and pave a minimum of 3 blocks in Indiana from 12th to 15th Streets. However, based on the amount of money that it costs to do the Maryland project, it may be possible to get a 4th block in there. So you'll know that when the bidding actually happens. If we do receive award, the funding will be available in July 2015, and we will schedule that use for our 2015 fall schedule. So I'm hopeful that looks very promising to get that grant. I have been advised that the property at 113/115 Indiana Avenue, which is a duplex, has been deemed condemned by the Mahoney County Health Department. As soon as I receive official hard copy notification and we give final notification of our intent to demolish, I will make arrangements for the abatement process and the demolition. I anticipate if everything goes according to plan, that the demo should be complete by late November. Estimated cost at this point is about $20,000. And we do have adequate funds left over from the land bank project, which will cover our costs. Last item I have is I thought the council would like to know that our code enforcement program for this year is almost concluded. The end of the project is November 1st. Cost to date were $5,800 in mowing abatements. Gross wages for Mr. Cardinal Services was $5,060. Cell phone reimbursement was $250. And the mileage reimbursement was $798.88. Total cost $11,908.88. Of course, the mileage reimbursement was discontinued by council direction in favor of using the city car. Anyway, the short version is, in my opinion, I think the program was very successful, certainly responsive. A lot of violations were handled in a timely fashion with minimal complaints by the public. The main focus of the program this year was violations such as garbage, trash, junk cars, and high grass. Currently, with high grass violations dwindling due to weather, Cardinal's focus has been trash, junk, and removal of illegal signs within the tree line area. So I would appreciate any residents that reading the paper and the report, as soon as Gil puts that part in, please do not put signs in the tree line. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions for the manager?
Question
Councilperson Weingart?
on the code enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked at the last meeting and I didn't get an answer. Are the owners being billed first and then it's sent over to a tax abatement?
I believe so. That's the process that should be in
Okay,
place.
so have we received anything at all from the owners?
To my knowledge, no. I'm waiting for Judy to give me the final tabulations. This report was a supplement to a preliminary report that I gave council in my weekly. Whether or not we've generated any money, either from assessments or billing, I'm not quite sure we've got anything or not. My gut instinct at this point is I don't think we've got anything. Most of the properties that are grass violations that are chronic tend to be bank-owned, well, bank-held.
But not all.
The ownership is limbo, yes, not all. So,
If they were billed, that's why I'm getting at. I don't think they were billed, but
well, I mean,
we can find out.
yes, absolutely. And if they were not billed for whatever reason during the process, it's
Yeah, they
a
should have
simple
a
matter.
chance to
Yeah,
pay
it's a
it.
simple matter of sending them the bill prior to the assessment anyway.
Right.
And actually, it makes sense rather than sending them
Absolutely.
a wave of bills at the end of the program. You can say, hey, look, we moved the property 8 times this summer. This is what you owe us. And of course, you give them a certain amount of time. If they don't do it, then we simply assess. So, but I will double check with that tomorrow, and I can have the information in council's box.
Can you tell me what some of these things mean on here? When the carbon was put in, I mean, it's really low, it's low in the beginning, then it goes really high, and then it comes back down, and I don't know what it is that's doing this on this graph.
If you look on there, it should
I
be...
was kind of hoping Jim would be here to go over this. I mean, we spent all this money, I'd like to see.
The TTHM, that's the trihalomethanes.
Right.
And the
But-
HAA5 is
Yeah, but look
the...
here. What are all these things? I have nowhere to find that out. And I don't know when this took effect. I mean, this was really high. Was it put in this day and then it went down?
No, here, if you look
Yeah.
here, that's about when we implemented the project. So that's when the highest testing... It comes in cycles, which means it depends on how much volume is being done. If you do a lot of volume, the concentration is not as high versus lower volume, which means the concentration is higher because...
It also comes in season too.
weather.
It's a season generated, it's a fall type, that's why we're required to test for that at work, where I work at. And it's
Yeah.
always in the summer months as you're heading into fall because the debris collects in the stream and it breaks down and it actually generates those basically contaminants pretty much.
I had an engineer
Here in November of last year, it was really high.
I had an engineer really go over with this with me. I like to feel that I'm relatively well versed, but this is definitely an engineerese. The one thing I can say is that this is what I was most concerned about. This line here.
Is that our goal?
Yeah, this line, this straight lateral line, is the EPA mandated.
Then why isn't that line straight on the other?
Well, it's a different item. You do have a straight line here. This is carbon canister usage. And what you're seeing is each of these different colors are 4 canisters. So you're getting a graph for each canister.
We need to have this.
Okay,
I need to know about
canister
this.
my suggestion is that we do this in a committee session.
This issue was raw
Have
data.
Mr. Bates here that we
Yeah,
can explain it.
yeah, maybe he could
Yes.
come to the next council meeting
Absolutely.
and go over
Well, what you're
this.
seeing here is, and the reason why each of the canisters are filtering and getting a different reading is because the process goes through each of the filters consecutively. So one filter is going to take the brunt, and it goes to the next, and the next, and the
Yeah.
next. And what you do is you switch them out. So
Right,
you
I
keep getting
understand
more
that.
Even usage. But, that's why I have engineers.
If it's council's pleasure, at the next council meeting, we can go into service maintenance and have Mr. Bates attend the service maintenance meeting to review those graphs.
More than happy to have him here. And if you like, I could probably have, because we're working with George, if he's in the area, I'd probably have George.
That'd be great. I mean, we've spent
I will put that in Mr.
how many
Igo's
millions
committee
on this?
to,
Let's set a 6 o'clock meeting.
2.7 million.
6 o'clock meeting on the 10th. It's our first meeting of the month prior to council. Have Mr. Bates come in early.
workshop, yes.
A workshop.
Workshop.
He can explain it to us.
Service maintenance.
Under service maintenance
Thank
committee.
you.
Any other council would like to come in on that, they can.
So have that at the 10th of November at 6 o'clock. We'll have a service maintenance meeting and have Mr. Bates in attendance to explain your questions, Councilperson Wingard.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Councilperson.
Are you done on that subject? I did attend both those classes for RCAP. I give the manager the binders that they were so graciously provided to me. Actually, both seminars were really good. I got a lot from it, and I would recommend that at some point, the manager should also attend those. I mean, and I know basically
Champagne?
Yeah, well, it's not, I think you may be able to pick up some things from that actually, and there's a couple other ones. I think utility management is one that's coming up that I think he could probably benefit from some of that stuff myself personally. But the manager has those binders if any member of council would like to see them.
Okay.
And I put some notes in the journals next to him for him. Some things I thought maybe he might want.
Thank you.
Mr. Harp, I have one
Yes,
question
sir,
for...
Mr. Forrest.
I just seen it, so otherwise I would have went to your office and seen you before this, but... White Mechanical's maintenance contract.
Yes.
Okay. The cost is irrelevant. My question is, we had McGarvey fix the stuff at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
Are we going to go with one HVAC contractor instead of having several different ones?
We could do that, and I had discussions with Lee about that, and here's basically where we came out. The brand new HVAC system that was put at the city building, it makes complete sense to have White Mechanical install it and maintain it. And that way you're not ripping out somebody else's work that you just paid for. The reason why Lee is continuing to use McGarvey is because McGarvey is currently familiar with the systems there.
I understand that, yeah.
And that's why we're using him. Now, I usually leave that decision to the superintendent as to who he feels is going to do the best job for the plant. However, we have not discussed talking to perhaps White Mechanical to take a look at those systems as to whether or not he's capable of doing that. That subject has not been broached. So Lee was content. If Lee was here, he would certainly speak for himself. But Lee was very content with keeping McGarvey there for the current system that they have there, because McGarvey's familiar with it.
I don't have a preference on either one. I just thought it would be easier
Could be some cost savings, yeah.
if one person did all of our buildings,
Absolutely.
flew fire station, everything.
Yeah, no, I agree.
When I went out to see the plant, I talked to Lee about that, and he said he is very comfortable with McGarvey, and he would like to keep them.
Well, that's what Lee
And if
discussed.
he is
with
the
me.
director, the superintendent, fine.
Okay. I'll leave that in the manager's hand to see if that...
Yeah, if there's a cost saving, obviously the first thing to do to find out, and I want to make sure that Lee's comfortable with the consultants that he's using, or the contractors he's using, because it gives him a comfort zone. He knows that it's getting done the way he wants it done, which is good for us. But there isn't any reason why we can't simply have White take a look at the systems, get an feel for what he knows, with Lee giving the assessment on that contractor, and then see what the associated price is.
Okay. All right, council. Manager, thank you for your report.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
We'll move on to report of other village officials. There's nobody here, so I can't access that. Solicitor, do you have anything to report this evening?
Nothing there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Wright.
before we get into that, before I make my motion here, 33, third one down, first ordinance, it should be 3314. It's probably a typo.
That's noted.
Okay?
You see that?
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor,
Yes,
that resolutions 2914 and 3014, ordinances 3314, 3414, and 3514 be read by title only.
Second.
we have a motion and seconded. Motion by Agro, seconded by Flowers. Questions or comments on the motion to read by title only? If none, clerk call the roll, please.
Agro.
Aye.
Householder. Aye. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance 2914, a resolution authorizing the owner of 21083 Alliance Sebring Road, Smith Township, Ohio, to connect to the village's existing water main along Alliance Sebring Road. Having heard the resolution read by title only, council, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion the resolution be adopted as read by title only.
Second.
Okay. Motion to adopt resolution 2914 by title only by Councilman Igro, seconded by Weingart. Questions or comments? None. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Agro.
Aye.
Householder. Aye. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Second resolution would be Resolution 30-14, a resolution authorizing and directing the municipal manager to apply for Federal Highway Administration Transportation Improvement Program funds programmed by the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments for the 12th Street Resurfing and Improvement Project. Council, having heard the resolution read by title only, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion, we adopt the resolution 30-14 by title only, read by title only.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Motion to adopt resolution 3014 by Councilman Wright, seconded by Councilman Igro. Questions or comments on the motion? If none, clerk call the roll, please.
Agro.
Aye.
Householder. Aye. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just briefly, just so you know, that particular, and I very much appreciate that, this resolution is a program requirement for the federal TIP monies. The 12th Street project is a $700,000 paving project, and it does take quite a long time. I mean, you have to get the application as soon as possible because you usually get a 2-year waiting process. So this would be for fiscal year 2017. But if everything goes according to plan, I would anticipate that 80% of that $700,000 would be grant money, and then we have the potential to match District 6 money with the federal money for the additional 20%, which means we may only have to pay about 4% of the total project, if not zero. So I'm very hopeful with that materializing. So they said we have a very good chance of getting it. And 12th Street is a federal waived road.
I was thinking about something. They're going to do from 62, almost, from 62 to the city limits, village limits, going north. Yeah, that's what it said.
Yes. Yeah, it's the whole length of 12.
What about the rest?
Not from 62, but right there's the city limit sign,
Yeah.
If I may,
Yes.
I think there was discussion that we would tie in with Mahoney County to do the
That's my question, Jim.
south end of our limit out
Yes.
to 62.
And then the possible north end.
Possible Smith
Right.
Township to
Yes.
Route 14.
Yes.
Do you know is Smith Township applying for this same thing?
No, but it's in the works. We want to get our application in hand first to the feds through District 6. And then I would go ahead and solicit the other jurisdictions to say, look, we have ours in, you can use mine as a template and balance. The nice part about about it is that if you have a multi-jurisdictional project, your chances of getting funded by District 6 increase dramatically. So yeah, that's very much in the works.
That would be terrific, because it's bad when you get past ours.
Well, I mean, our section,
Courtney Road.
that's just a giant pothole, but yeah, if everything goes according to plan, it would
2
be...
years.
Okay. We'll go on to the next ordinance, which is 3314. And this is an ordinance adopting the 2014 regulations of the Division of Water and Sewer Department of Public Service Municipality, Sebring, Ohio, and repealing any inconsistent ordinances. Council, this constitutes the first reading on this particular ordinance. Okay, moving on. Ordinance 34-14. An ordinance authorizing and directing the municipal manager to enter into an agreement with Anthem, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield to provide major medical insurance and declaring an emergency. Having heard the ordinance read by title only with the emergency clause, council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I make a motion we adopt ordinance 3414 with the emergency clause.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilperson Wright, seconded by Councilperson Hydro to adopt ordinance 3414 with the emergency clause. Questions or comments? If none, clerk, sorry.
I guess just for the public that is here, everybody's heard of the ACA, Obamacare Act. We did look at some of the plans that are offered. We don't give our employees regular pay raises year after year, and it was the committee's recommendation based on the renewal rates versus what the ACA rates were going to be averaged. It was better off to leave our insurance in place. We have a 2-year option. We opted for the first year, and then next year we'll go back through this again. But I think that says a lot for the community here that, you know, insurance is in limbo at this point. Some of the rules have taken effect and some of them haven't. But at this point, we thought that was the best avenue, and it had about a $20,000 annually increase, which is less than $2,000 a month average.
Right. And I want to add a little bit to that. Correct me if I'm wrong. We got a 4% decrease last year, the previous year.
Yes, sir.
So the 14% increase isn't exactly. It's really 10%, but we have a 5% increase on a yearly basis anyway, so it ends up being like 6% from 2 years ago.
Okay, good comment, Ken. That was a good comment.
Very good. Okay. All right. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Hydro.
Aye.
Householder. Abstain. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance is passed. Thank you. Okay. Ordinance 3514. An ordinance authorizing and directing the municipal manager to enter into a contract with WSOS/Ohio RCAP of Fremont, Ohio for design and data services for a utility GIS data collection and mapping project and an assessment management plan development project and declaring an emergency. After hearing the ordinance read by title only with the emergency clause, council, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I make a motion we adopt ordinance 35-14 with the emergency clause.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Councilperson Wright, seconded by Councilperson Flowers to adopt ordinance 3514 with the emergency clause. Questions or comments, Mr. Wright?
Just for the public's knowledge, this is actually a requirement for us to secure a $500,000 grant from Ohio EPA, and it also gets us a zero-interest loan securement for our Cryptosporidium project, which is the next project to come up at the water treatment plant. And I talked to, while in attendance at those meetings, I did talk to quite a few other council members, mayors, managers, workers, and not one of them there said that they got the deal that we got. So I think we should be very fortunate, and I know the manager pushed really hard to get that done, so I think kudos to him on helping us out with that and secure that.
Thank you.
I'll take the kudos. Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, just...
He's the one I'm not getting there.
Just briefly, though, the really nice part about it, even though it is a requirement, and we can roll that into the funding, the nice part about this, it actually gives us a platform for the GIS, which we were considering doing anyway. The council and I talked about this earlier this year, about the possibility of doing it in 2016 or 15, and this kind of really ramps us up, which means we can actually electronically document our entire system. So, Marvin is sitting here, and I'd like to use what's in his head, and also Bill, and put that into programming for posterity, because a lot of that will be lost if we don't track it. So,
Very good.
I'm happy to have it.
Thank you. Okay, with that discussion, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Igram.
Aye.
Householder. Aye. Flowers.
Aye.
Weingart. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Harp.
Aye. Motion to pass ordinance 3514 is successful. Okay, that ends ordinances and resolutions. Our next on the agenda is our second of two citizens' comments. If anybody would like to speak, please state your name and address. If none, do we have any other business to come before this council? Councilman Igo.
I had talked with the city manager earlier. I think this is the last year for the fire levy tax. We need to think about putting that for renewal next year. We need to get a date when that's got to be put on the ballot.
Yes.
Now, when this one expires, when we have to have the one next one on.
And when we have to have that in over the county, it's 90 days or how long it is before we have to have it.
Yeah.
I can get that
You want to just
information.
scope that out and see when we have to get that back on.
I'll drop
You
that.
don't want to lose that, because once you lose the renewal.
Hard to get a new one.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll drop that information in your box along with the building and code violations and the other items.
Also, could you also please, when you research that, get the exact wording of that ordinance, establishing that tax levy, so we know exactly what it stands for.
I'll put a copy of it in your box.
Thank you.
Very good.
Or I'd like to read it as well to see the scope.
Okay. Anything else, council, to discuss? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn with an order. So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Igo, seconded by Flowers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This council is adjourned. Thank you, fellas. Thank you for...
All right. Go ahead.